Harris suffered an eye injury over the 4th of July holiday from a fireworks mishap, with his agent saying he'll be ready for the season, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The OKC Thunder continue to lock down their championship core in the NBA as the team and forward Jalen Williams have agreed to terms on a 5-year maximum rookie contract extension worth up to $287 million. Nashville SC looking to make it 16 unbeaten as they travel to Florida to take on Inter Miami this Saturday. Kickoff set for 6:45, and you can catch that game right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Phone lines are closed now, but now they're back open. Buck, I guess, didn't want to talk to you guys, but I got Stoney Keeley across from me. He'll be joining me today. He'll be joining me next Friday as Blaine is on vacation.
Jealous.
Much to the chagrin probably of our listeners, it will be a lot of me and Jackson talking this week, the days that you're not here.
Oh, we're going to get fired.
We're going to get fired. Hey, listen, I know that you're a producer of a sister show. After this show, you produce over there at Super Talk, WTN, with Matt Murphy. And he gets away with a lot of stuff, so I figured we should be fine, right? Unsupervised
I give
for
us
a week.
Tuesday.
Till Tuesday. Oh man, it's not gonna be a long time here.
I can't wait. I love you guys. I think you guys are gonna be awesome.
So before the show started, I just looked across at Stoney before Jackson did his update, and I go, "Hey, are you ready?" And Stoney gives me this terrified face and starts fumbling around like a kitten with a ball of yarn,
Yeah, it was
trying to get
terrifying.
his headphones untangled. It was a panic. You're panicking.
It was the worst tangle I've ever experienced with these headphones. Like the cord's not that long, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what happened here. It was like in Christmas Vacation when Clark hands Russ the ball of Christmas lights and says, "Get these untangled." That's what I was going through as Jackson's doing the update. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to have to go live without any headphones.
That's crazy. We'll be joined by Jordan Dajani. We'll go around the NFL with him. We haven't talked to him in a while on the show, so we'll go around the NFL with him in the next segment. We're also going to give you our top 5 Titans what-ifs of the last 10 seasons, starting with the Mariota draft season. And you have a collection of weird Mount Rushmores that are Titans related.
Well, it's Mount Rushmore season.
It is
It's
Mount
July.
Rushmore season. It's July. So you have 3 of them that
Do you
are...
want me to give them?
No. I'm just saying, you have 3 of them. We'll get to those later. But first, we got to start the show, and our producer has left us. But first, we got to start the show talking about this A.J. McCarron thing, because yesterday, A.J., I'm driving in for Football and Other F Words, and I get a text message from Joseph Bananas, the producer, or Zeth, the producer of 3HL, man of 2 nicknames. Pick a nickname and stick with it. But he says, Don wants your thoughts on this, and he sends me this tweet that is this A.J. McCarron clip that we'll play in a second. And I gave him an official statement. He read it on air on my behalf to Dawn, and Dawn said that she has lost all respect for me.
Yeah.
It was a tough pill to swallow. Not only did she say it on air, but I went out there to confront her, out there while she's taking a little break, standing on the balcony during one of their commercial breaks.
You took it to the parking lot.
I took it to the parking lot.
Escalated.
And I said, I don't know what your problem is. I'm just, a supporter of truth.
Yeah.
And she goes, I've just lost all respect for you. And jokingly, obviously, for those that may not know. I mean, she may have lost respect for me. I'm an Alabama fan. She's an Auburn fan, but I believe it was jokingly. But here is the clip of A.J. McCarron talking about that Hugh Freeze situation where he's already complaining about NIL money.
Hugh Freeze is full of shit. I think Hugh Freeze is trying to do whatever he can to save face. He's starting to feel pressure at Auburn, going into his third year, not having this success that the alumni, the boosters, everybody donating a lot of money thought that he would have by this point. I think he's trying to figure out and scramble on why they are not successful. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, right? The state of Alabama is ran by Alabama fans, Alabama alumni, whether you like it or not, right? And I've never been one to absolutely just hate on Auburn. Hell, I've caught in hell from Alabama fans for cheering for some of my friends that played at at Auburn. If you are from the state of Alabama, I think it is dumb for you not to sign with the University of Alabama.
Fully agree.
Your avenue for success with life after football is a lot greater, bigger, however you want to describe it, I think, with being a ex-Alabama football player compared to Auburn.
I agree. I guess I was in the clip. I didn't realize. You couldn't tell because he just pauses.
Well, that's what
terrible podcasting, by the way.
I just jotted down. He is thinking so hard,
Yeah.
trying to use his words to describe what he's feeling.
And he probably doesn't want to get too loose with it.
Yeah.
Because, Dawn, for on her side, when Cam Ward was cussing in that press scrum, media scrum, she was really against that. She never cusses, and she doesn't like her quarterbacks to cuss. Notoriously, she is clean as a whistle, not a sailor.
That's why she won't come on Football and Other F Words.
Yeah, she said she couldn't come on Football and Other F Words.
Has a reputation to uphold.
Yeah, we're too much of heathens.
Well,
for her.
To be fair, if you do have a reputation to uphold, we are the last two people you should be hanging out with.
Especially after how we started the show last night. Ross with the technical difficulties all throughout the thing. We end up talking about a poem that may have some innuendos, unintended innuendos in it that you would write. No, we cannot read the poem. But you can go to Football and Other F Words and hear the poem in the first 5 minutes before we get in Titans talk. But I just want to respond to Don's statement, not necessarily A.J. McCarron, because what A.J. McCarron, everything he said is true. Has nothing to do with Tennessee, and I know there's a lot of Tennessee football fans listening who are like, why are we talking about Alabama? But we got in-studio beef we got to contend with here.
Yeah, well, we just, it's good to hash things out. It's good to talk through these things,
Right. And he's right. As a football player, and that's what he really means, as a football player, you should want to go through Alabama. Why would you go to Auburn? Like, it makes no sense unless Auburn, like he said, unless you're wanting to be a veterinarian, after you graduate from Auburn or Auburn, like he said, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, there's nothing really for you because NFL is where you want to go, and that's why you go to Alabama.
Do you think that was intentional disrespect? Like, I'm not going to even pronounce their name correctly. I'm going to throw an R in there and say Auburn?
Probably.
I just don't get how that. There were a couple of grammatical errors in there that I'm thinking, like, if you go to Alabama as a football player, you do have more opportunities to do anything you want, even podcasting, when you can't talk right.
That's correct. Listen,
he said the state is ran by, and it should be is run by, and he says, I've caught in hell.
There you go. I mean, like, that's just him,
But it's a testament to his larger point. Like, you can do anything you want to.
Do anything you want to. I also look at it this way. I do think that the overall point of, I think Hugh Freeze is trying to do whatever he could save face after Freeze suggested that Auburn is playing by the House sentiment rules while others aren't. Get a grip. We've heard this story before of people blaming other people besides themselves. But if I'm not mistaken, and fact check me on this, Jackson, if you have a chance, top 10 recruiting class and top 10 NIL class over the last couple of years or something like that. If I'm not mistaken. So, I don't know. Even if you're in the top 20, you're still not a struggling school. You're Auburn. You're an SEC school. Playing by the rules, sure you are. Yeah. I mean, because Hugh Freeze, known for, taking that high road all the time.
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Overrated coach too, by the way. I want to dig that in there.
Well, do you I mean, we probably should have done our most overrated SEC coaches, because I also think Brian Kelly is riding the coattails of what he did in the Great Lakes International Conference or whatever that was from, because people love them some Brian Kelly for whatever reason. But I just want to say, and in fact, there are like 5 coaches I would put over Brian Kelly in the SEC, including Josh Heupel.
As most overrated?
No. As far as just being better than Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think people would put him like top 3, top 4, and I don't even think he cracks top 5.
See,
now we're getting a little off track, but that's what we do.
Well, I thought Ramon called Lane Kiffin overrated on 3HL yesterday.
He did. I understand his point. I feel like there's a little bit of UT bias in there.
I didn't think about that.
He says there was, but I kind of feel like there was. But I get what he's saying. I necessarily don't agree because, to be honest, Lane Kiffin has placed really high and ended the season really high, but you don't have really anything than participation trophies show. He's like the Colts hanging that banner. Mm-hmm. That's what Lane Kiffin's career is at Ole Miss. But I would still choose what's going on at Ole Miss over what's going on at Auburn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like Lane Kiffin has done such a good job of like installing an offensive system that he can just go into the portal and get like the biggest, fastest wide receiver available, and they can just come in and run it. Like there's not a lot of thinking going on, if you will, because that's been a large point of criticism for draft prospects coming out of that offense is like, do these guys does the quarterback know how to read a defense, go through progressions? Do the wide receivers know how to run routes? But I still think it's a testament to Lane Kiffin's coaching ability that he put a system in place where he can do that.
Yeah.
And when you think about his job is not to get guys to the NFL, it's to win games. He's winning games. But I do think like you get to that point where it's like you got to take that next step or people are going to start having that conversation. I'm with you. If we're going to talk about overrated SEC coaches, what Brian Kelly has done with the talent he's had at LSU, that's the top of my list.
Yeah. I would also say this, talking about the Ole Miss system and not caring if you get, a bunch of NFL players in there, which they've gotten plenty of NFL players in there during his time. Maybe not the highest thing, but the same thing could be said about the University of Tennessee when you're talking about the scheme.
Sure.
And so it will be interesting to see. Yeah, and they made it to the playoffs. So that's the difference. And I would agree that in that sense that Josh Heupel has, I think, navigated what we have seen this new era of college recruiting better than maybe most people probably would have given him credit for. I think what they have done with who they've done it with has been pretty good outside of the hiccup of the handling of Nico, but that also is a lot on Nico, right? Sure. There's a lot of blame to go around on that. It will be really interesting to see. A guy that I'm interested for Ole Miss is Austin Simmons, the quarterback that came in for a little bit during the Georgia game. I think that dude's going to be a dog when it comes this year. And I am so interested to talk about this SEC quarterback class as it goes on, because this is just such a wide array of different talents and different schemes and different levels of recruiting stars and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be real interesting to see how that works out. But back to the original point, Hugh Freeze, excuse maker, just planting the seeds so he doesn't get fired after he posts up a 5-win season this year. I get it. Self-preservation. Totally understand it. But, A.J. McCarron, he called it. He nailed it on the head. And, unlike Dawn, I'll take the high road. I have not lost any respect for Dawn and her personal attacks on me. That's fine. That's fine.
Who did Auburn get? They got Jackson Arnold, the kid from Oklahoma. And then they got
the guy that was really terrible at Oklahoma, by the way.
They also got this is a deep cut for anybody. I don't even know if this was mentioned on Football and Other F Words. We might have just been talking about this in conversation. The kid from Stanford. When we're trying to evaluate Alec Ayumaner's tape, the quarterback from Stanford also transferred to Auburn to be the backup to Jackson Arnold.
There you go.
So,
well, when we come back, we're going to go around the NFL with Jordan Dajani. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Did you know Eurofix has a very different business philosophy? They staff all the locations with more staff than any average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops out of nowhere. So have you ever noticed how hard it is to get a right now appointment for a vehicle repair? Some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get a freaking appointment, but not Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat their dealer without their dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car right now. So if you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We're here to take their pain away, and we mean right now. And Eurofix repairs all European cars and say yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right. 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaze, did you?
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll be talking to Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports here in just a moment. We got a lot to cover with him. I haven't talked to Jordan in about 3 weeks. I don't think you've ever talked to Jordan. So this will be your first time to talk to Jordan.
Yeah.
He's a local boy. He lives here.
We're Twitter friends. So that counts.
Well, yeah. I mean, it does in today's world. I mean, who needs friends in person? That's how we first met. We were Twitter friends.
That's true, yeah.
So we'll be joined by Jordan Dajani. We'll go around CBS Sports with him, go around the NFL with him. And here he is now. Jordan, how are you doing today?
What's going on, my friends? How are we doing? What's going on, Stoney? Good to talk to you, man. Hope you guys are doing well.
There you go. I got to start off with this. This whole collusion case that got told that it wasn't collusion, all that, which really seems like the collusion is between the NFL and the NFLPA at this point. But is this going to be a wake-up call for the NFL players to kind of uproot this current NFLPA and find guys that will really actually fight on their behalf and not try to fight for possibly, allegedly, their own self-interest in wanting to invest in possibly NFL teams?
Potentially, yeah. And I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here because we talked about this. I think you might have been out of town on a wedding, but I talked about when this whole saga came to light that my main takeaway wasn't about NFL owners colluding and fully guaranteed contracts and things of that nature. My main takeaway was that this whole NFL power structure seems really flawed, especially when it comes to the NFLPA side of things with, the shady hiring practices with Lloyd Howell and J.C. Tretter and all of that. And, more things have been coming out about Lloyd Howell, right, with him working on the side as a consultant for the Carlyle Group, which is a private equity firm that is seeking minority ownership in the NFL. Reportedly, there's now a petition to hopefully remove him from his post as well. So it seems like his days in his current position could potentially be numbered. And one thing I also talked about was this upcoming CBA, whenever it happens in 2030, 2029, it's going to be incredibly important who is representing the NFLPA side of things because the NFL as a league has been really aggressive in trying to really take over the world and be aggressive in playing all these international games, more exposure, all those different kinds of things. So, yeah, this is a major story, and I feel like, again, that Lloyd Howell's days could potentially be coming to an end as leader.
What would that mean for maybe the rest of the executive board that actually passed Lloyd Howell through without really anybody that was supposed to vote on it really knowing much about the whole entire situation, which is kind of laid out in also Pablo Torre's piece, but also this petition as well. Does this mean that maybe Chief Strategy Officer J.C. Tretter, former Cleveland Browns offensive lineman, does this mean that maybe he's on the hot seat as well?
Potentially. I mean, I can't say no definitively. And, to answer your question, which is really tough, I had a lot of questions about the hiring practices themselves because the way they kind of conducted business, I think it might have just straight up gone against the rules of how it is supposed to be done. So that leads to questions in itself in terms of the processes behind the scenes when it comes to electing leaders with the NFLPA.
I mean, where do you land on the resigning? I mean, don't you think at this point, and I know he gets paid a cool $3.4 million, so maybe he's not looking to resign, but kind of feels like Lloyd Howell, the best avenue for him is to resign from the NFLPA, not the other one, because if I'm the players, I wouldn't want him around the NFLPA at all.
Right. And there was a union lawyer that asked Howell to kind of do the opposite, right? Consider resigning from the firm to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. And if he's smart and wants to keep his NFLPA job, then that's probably exactly what he should do. And I don't know the main differences between the two jobs in terms of what comes with, let's call it, quote unquote, more power. I would imagine that's the NFLPA side of things, and the consulting gig is way more of a side hustle, if you will. So but what's tough is that even if he didn't have this role as a consultant with the private equity firm, his standing with the NFLPA and the respect he has from the players seems to be vastly diminished.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be, I don't, even if he resigns from the Carlyle Group, I mean, if I was the players, I'd still be looking for a way to oust him because the pattern of behavior does not really sit well with me. We're going around the NFL with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports.
Well, Jordan, change the subject a little bit. It ain't July without some talk about the Peyton Manning Passing Academy. You recently wrote about Peyton heaping praise on Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier. Do you feel like the league looks at these two guys as the gems of the upcoming quarterback class as we head into the 2025 season?
Yeah, 100%. And that was kind of a cool article I did with Peyton talking about how the arm talent and the decision-making is maybe a little bit different, maybe more aggressive compared to the days when Peyton Manning was playing college football. Like, these guys that are coming out these days, regardless of position, are just vastly more athletic. And, yeah, I would imagine that Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier are probably the favorites to be the #1 overall pick in next year's draft. That doesn't mean that you as an analyst have to be completely sold on them, as you probably know. I'm sure you've watched a lot more tape on these guys compared to me. I think Arch Manning has a lot to prove, and the question has to be asked, like, what's the likelihood of Arch living up to those expectations that are championship level with the Texas Longhorns? But, I'm also really intrigued by a guy with the name Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. I watched a lot of him last year, and I feel like he could kind of be this Gamecock savior, if you will. So he's another player with a lot of hype around him entering the season, and it would be kind of cool to see South Carolina have a star quarterback that ends up going really high in the draft.
So maybe this gives us an opportunity for a bit of a PSA for safety this time of year. What's going on with Najee Harris? What happened with this injury situation?
Man, I'm glad you brought this up because there was rumors. I mean, rumors were abounding on social media ever since July 5th.
And what's crazy, I missed these rumors. I mean, when it was said that all these rumors were out there and articles were written up about it, I was like, I didn't see anything about this Najee Harris incident.
Yeah, I guess I'm on a weird side of the internet, firework-related incident, eye injury side of the internet. But what was really funny was a couple days ago, I reached out to my boss at CBS, and I was like, listen, don't think I'm a loser, but, I'm going to start writing something about Najee Harris because I feel like something might have happened. And we ended up using the shell, which was kind of cool for me, I guess. But what was really interesting about this, and first of all, thankfully he's okay, and it wasn't reportedly, according to his agent, some kind of very serious injury. But it was weird that it took us so long to find out the details of this. It seemed like Najee Harris's side wanted to keep it quiet, potentially forever, and that it was a superficial eye wound. Hopefully no one would find out. But then there was an outlet out in California that reported that Najee Harris was among a group of people who were injured early on July 5th in a fireworks accident, and that is when I think the agent had to come forward with a statement saying that his client's okay, he's expected to be ready for the 2025 season. So eye injuries sound incredibly scary, especially when we're talking about fireworks, but they described it as superficial. So I guess it wasn't as bad as it possibly could have been.
So you look at this team signing Harris, they draft Amari and Hampton. They still have Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal in that backfield. What's your sense on how this unit will be deployed? Is this run game? How imperative is it for Harris to get back and be a part of this run game for the Chargers to turn a corner in the competitive AFC West?
Yeah, and they also have this guy, Raheem Sanders, right? Isn't he from South Carolina that people are really high on, apparently? You use the word imperative, and I don't know if I can say that Najee Harris is imperative to the Chargers offense, considering that Omarion Hampton was someone who came in with just incredible hype, right? I mean, he was the best running back in college football behind Ashton Genty, I think, in most people's opinions. So Najee Harris, and listen, Najee Harris as a player is kind of an interesting debate because there's a lot of people out there that think he's overrated, that don't think he's very good. But I don't think people realize that he's the only player in the NFL that has rushed for 1,000 yards in each of the last 4 seasons. Derrick Henry hasn't done it. Saquon Barkley hasn't done it. It's just kind of Najee Harris. And I know he's not going to rack up Pro Bowl votes, but he's been probably the most consistent weapon when in the Steelers offense when he was playing ball in Pittsburgh. So we know that the Chargers with Greg Roman as offensive coordinator really want to pound the rock. And you had to imagine that them signing Najee Harris, he was going to be a big part of that game plan.
We're touring the NFL with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports.
Jordan, we talked probably shortly after the NFL draft about how the Jaguars said they were going to let Travis Hunter be in both rooms, train one day, be in both meeting rooms every day, but train one day as a wide receiver, train the next day as a cornerback. And we've seen Travis Kelce kind of come out recently and say that he thinks that the NFL offenses will just start tiring him out. He doesn't think this will last. We've seen that Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast said Liam Cohen's offense has a ton of motion. There's a ton of formations. He's got to learn all of that. He can't sit in 2 meetings at the same time. I mean, all of this to say, a lot of is being made about Travis Hunter, who people did say probably the closest thing we'll see to a generational athlete. But we all did kind of have a little bit of questions about if he could do it at the NFL level. Where are you at in that, and what do you think about the Jaguars' situation now a couple of months removed from the draft?
Yeah, here's where I sit. And, let's not get things twisted, right? Travis Hunter is not going to be a full-time two-way player in the NFL like he was with Colorado. The way I see things shaking out is that he's going to play most of his time at wide receiver, and then there'll be different packages or different situations where he's going to play cornerback as well. And if you adhere to this hypothetical strategy, then using Travis Kelce's strategy of potentially trying to tire Travis Hunter out by running these phantom go routes on each side of the field to get him out of the picture or tire him down, maybe that's not going to be something that's put into practice. So that's the way I see it. The Jaguars are absolutely going to give him opportunities to play on both sides of the ball, maybe every single week. I think that's why they viewed him as a prospect that was worth trading up the draft board for and giving up a future first-round pick for. But I really don't think that he's going to approach being some kind of full-time two-way player, and that's the main point of this.
I was over on bookies.com. The 2025 NFL first head coach fired odds are out. And over there, they have Brian Daboll, who seems to be across all books, the number one. But number 2 is Zach Taylor. And the Cincinnati Bengals and just came off a weird season. And, of course, you could see it on the Netflix show, The Quarterbacks. But they still went 9-8. We're a couple of years removed from the Super Bowl. He's gone 10-6, 12-4, 12-4, and then now 9-8. Is this really? Should he be number 2? Because Mike McDaniel's number 3, Kevin Stefanski 4, Todd Bowles of the Buccaneers. Todd Bowles is number 5. Which is crazy to me. Brian Callahan is actually behind all those guys. I'm not saying that Brian Callahan should be fired, but that seems Zach Taylor and Todd being there ahead of Brian Callahan just makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that because Todd Bowles just signed a big-time extension last week, and he's won the division every year basically. Even if I don't think Todd Bowles is making a beeline for the Hall of Fame, he's been a pretty good coach down in Tampa. What's interesting about hot seat rankings is that I kind of struggle. If I was putting together a list right now, I wouldn't feel great about putting 5 guys on the hot seat. I would say yes to Mike McDaniel. I would say yes to Brian Daboll. But who else? I don't want to put Dave Canales there. I don't know if I'm putting Shane Steichen there yet. And with Zach Taylor, he's not someone who should be on the hot seat in my mind. He's an offensive-minded guy who spearheaded and led and created one of the, if not the best offense in the NFL last year. It wasn't Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase's and Zach Taylor's fault, in my opinion. They missed the playoffs last year is because of the defense. And they made a change in defensive leadership last year by firing Lou Anarumo, who now I think is with the Indianapolis Colts. So, no, I don't think Zach Taylor should be on the hot seat. And here's another thing to wonder about. If Cincinnati does miss the playoffs this year and they end up firing Zach Taylor, how would that affect the relationship of Joe Burrow with the organization? Because publicly, he's kind of made some pointed comments about the contract situations with Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and now they fire the guy in charge of the offense. That's something to wonder about down the road as well.
Patrick Mahomes talked about the best pass rusher he's ever played against. Talk about who he said and why he was the best.
Yeah, he talked about a guy he has to face 2 times a year every single season, and that's Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders, who I think is one of my favorite players in the NFL. And a reason that Mahomes probably said that about Max Crosby is that Crosby, not only is he a well-rounded player, right? Some of these pass rushers are artists when it comes to taking down the quarterback, but they don't offer much in run support. That's not Max Crosby. He racks up tackles for loss as well and plays a role in run support. But another thing about Max Crosby is that he really looks to get inside the heads of players, especially when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. if he doesn't get to Mahomes in terms of sacking him to the ground, he's going to put hands on him and rough him up a little bit, hold him down on the ground maybe a bit longer than he should. Max Crosby is a dog, to put it pretty simply. So I would understand why Mahomes said that about him as being the best pass rusher in the National Football League.
We're going around the NFL with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports.
Jordan, Brock Purdy recently said on Bussin' with the Boys that he'd go to prison for a year if it meant winning a Super Bowl. So it's not the Mike Vrabel route. We're not cutting off any appendages or anything like that. But what, in your opinion, has to happen for this 6-11 team to get back to the playoffs and get back on track?
Yeah, I love Bussin' with the Boys because they put all their guests in those awkward situations saying what they would do or would not do to get a Super Bowl ever since they got that viral remark from Mike Vrabel. But you ask a good question because Brock Purdy has a losing record as a starting quarterback when any of his big five does not suit up. That big five is Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. And, of course, that big five has been disbanded with Deebo Samuel now a member of the Washington Commanders. So when you ask me what has to happen for the 49ers to retain that contender status and make a run at a Super Bowl, I really do look at the quarterback as the X factor. How efficient and how consistent, I guess is the word, can Brock Purdy be with some new weaponry? Is Ricky Pearsall going to step up and kind of take on that Deebo Samuel role? I have a lot of confidence that the 49ers defense is going to be a lot better. As you know, they invested considerable draft resources on that side of the ball. They also brought back Robert Saleh to be defensive coordinator. So if San Francisco's defense is going to be improved, it's going to come down to the offense to score points. So I'm looking at Brock Purdy at maybe having the best season of his career if the 49ers want to make the Super Bowl.
Jordan, just real quick, the Chad Ochocinco is doing the Whiteout Workshop in Miami right now, which is really interesting because we've just had tight end U. O-line Masterminds is going on right now as well. Two things. What position is next? And should Blaine, if there's a defensive back one, should Blaine be the head of that and be one of the coaches and teachers?
Well, I'll tell you, Chad Ochocinco kind of stepped up to the plate and created wide receiver U, right? He's the one who invited all these guys and got people to create the Instagram accounts and social media accounts and things of that nature to really put eyeballs on it. And I'm sure it was a success, and it's going to be something that happens every single year moving forward, especially with the success of tight end U in Nashville. But yeah, I think Blaine Bishop, he's got to step up to the plate just like Chad Ochocinco did and use his connections and start getting people maybe to Nashville or another city to train up these defensive backs.
I'm with you. I brought this idea up yesterday, and he, not on the air, but just talking. And he was like, I don't know about that. I'm like, man, if anybody the players should be learning from, it's Blaine. With the X's and O's, the mental game, what to do to better your business and better yourself, like all that kind of stuff. Xavier Restrepo was down there as well. So, I mean, a nice little shout out to him. He's putting in the work. But I do want to get to this last story. Cooper Flagg had his premiere at the Summer League recently, and he tried to go for a dunk, and it didn't quite go his way. But what did you see from Cooper Flagg's performance in the Summer Leagues?
Yeah, with that dunk attempt, he literally tried to steal someone's soul. Like, if that dunk went down, it would have been just, number one on ESPN for a long time. I saw an incredibly versatile athlete. It's hard to believe the kid's only 18 years old. He didn't shoot well from the field, and people talked about maybe his shooting motion needing to be adjusted to spin on the ball. That'll be something interesting to watch moving forward. But the bottom line is that Cooper Flagg wasn't drafted just to be a scorer and a leader. He's also a playmaker. He's great whenever the ball's in his hands. He can run the offense. He can set up people for shots as well. He's someone who is just way ahead of his years, and he's still growing into his body. He's still growing into his skill set. So there were a million reasons why he went number one overall in the NBA draft.
Well, Jordan, we greatly appreciate you going around the NFL and a little bit of NBA talk as well. Of course, you can read all of his articles over at CBS Sports and follow him on Twitter as well. Jordan, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Thanks. When we come back, we're going to go through Stoney's weird Mount Rushmores that he has set up, and then we're going to ask you for some weird Mount Rushmores as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Blaine's on vacation. Got Stoney Keeley across from me. And Stoney has 3 Mount Rushmores that because he's real big into, well, it's July. Let's get all the topics that we can in. You know, we got to do them. And he's got 3 Titans-related Mount Rushmores for everybody. So I'm going to let you explain them, and let's go through them one by one real quick.
Yeah, so, I just thought it's July radio. There's not a whole lot to talk about. This is Mount Rushmore season, but I don't think people go full tilt with it. Like, let's just lean in to the absurdity. Let's just go full unhinged on this thing.
Yeah.
Why limit ourselves to like Mount Rushmore of breakfast cereals and stuff like that? We're going to talk Titans.
Okay.
And I have 3 Mount Rushmores because I just got to thinking about it the other day. I was watching Cover 2. You and Blaine were talking about something, and Carl Klug's name popped into my head. It was like a guy that was just hung around, like depth piece, back end of the roster, hung around for like 7 years, or it felt like 2 decades, always reliable when you needed him, but never really anything more of that. And it got me thinking about, well, who are the Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug's in Titans history? So I have that, and then I got to thinking.
Okay, let's stop with this one.
Okay,
so let's go through them one by one. Now,
go ahead.
Yeah. So with the Carl Klug, what are the parameters to be on the Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug?
You just had to be reliable depth piece, fan favorite kind of guy on the Titans for a number of years.
7 years, by the way, for Carl Klug on the team. 7 years for
Carl Klug. Yeah, he was a good player, man. He was a good player.
He's all right.
The Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug's.
Okay.
Carl Klug.
Yeah.
Donnie Nicky.
That's a good one.
Craig Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
And Eugene Amano.
Okay, that's 3.
That's 4.
Wait a minute. Donnie Nicky, Craig Stevens, Eugene Amano.
And Carl Klug.
Oh, so you're including Carl Klug on his own Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug.
Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug's. Yeah.
So Carl Klug. So I thought that this was an honorary. Carl Klug's already got a statue somewhere in the park.
No.
Okay.
He can be on his own
Carl Klug, Craig Stevens, Eugene Amano, Donnie Nicky. That is a really good list. And I'd have to say, I think because NWI has left for Miami.
It didn't, it was only
I don't think
years.
it really feels like that should be on there. He's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
I would say that Mason Kinsey right now is an honorable mention, but we have something for Mason Kinsey later on in the show. But I like that. I like the Carl Klug. I like not really the tryhards, but the dependable guys that will always be there. Mm-hmm. I would say the guy that probably bucks that the most is probably Eugene Amano because he started considerable time.
Well, but it was late.
Yeah, that's true.
He was on the team for like 8 years and wasn't starting until like Kevin Mawai retired.
He used to have some kind of Hawaiian sandwich chain in Franklin.
Really?
Yep.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if he still does or not.
Guard, center, wherever you needed him to play, pretty reliable guy, kind of an unsung hero of those Titans offensive lines because they were so star-studded back then with the offensive linemen. I felt like he was a little underrated. I kept going back to a name. I want to ask your opinion about this. Daquan Jones. To me, felt like he was too good to be on. Like
he's still rolling and still very well respected in the league.
I think he's a guy that was underrated by Titans fans, but I think he was almost too good.
But he did play for 7 years.
He started a lot of games.
Yep.
And I think that kind of disqualifies him. I think he's too good to be on the Mount Rushmore of Carl Klug.
I would agree, but Daquan Jones is a guy that we probably need to put out into the atmosphere a little bit more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next Mount Rushmore.
I do have the Mount Rushmore of Mason Kinsey's because the Titans fan base always seems to fall in love with one of these like skill position players during the training camp, the preseason, that sort of thing. And so I was like, okay, Mason Kinsey is like the figurehead for this right now. So the Mount Rushmore.
Are they only offensive skilled players?
They are. Yeah. Okay. I don't think they have to be necessarily, but my list is. I go with Trey McBride.
Yeah.
I think it was
the original Mason Kinsey.
The William and Mary Trey McBride, not the Colorado State Trey McBride that's playing for the Arizona Cardinals. Lavelle Hawkins, Michael Preston, and Jackie Battle.
Preston was who I was thinking. I don't know. I think Caleb Murphy deserves an honorable mention.
Oh, man, that's a good one.
Because everybody, and I tried to tell people, I was like, guys, you guys are falling in love with Caleb Murphy, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, but come on.
Yeah.
Mackay Sargent is a good one.
Mackay Sargent is a good one.
Julius Chestnut, don't know if he technically qualifies. Reggie Roberson, a good one.
LeGarrette Blount?
Well, he was only here for like 3 months, right? Was he here for a full season?
People fell in love with him.
That's true.
But then they cut him, and then he went on to have a pretty good career in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's why he's on the Mount Rushmore, because the fans were right.
I see what you did there, Jackson. Smart man. Logic.
Yeah. But I would agree with your list. I do think Caleb Murphy probably deserves his own bust somewhere.
Yeah. I didn't put Mason Kinsey on the Mount Rushmore of Mason Kinseys because I think he has too many haters out there. I think the rest of the people...
This isn't meant to be hating. This is just meant to give recognition to those that... I would even say, if you want to really put someone on there...
Ooh.
Because they were on the practice squad and everybody went crazy thinking that it was going to turn the season around.
I think I know where you're going.
Golden Tate.
Yeah, Golden Tate. That was
honorable mention for Golden Tate.
We need to do a Mount Rushmore of Golden Tates, because then you could throw
Randy Moss, Andre Johnson.
Yeah. These guys, I think, are like universally beloved fringe guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a contingency of people out there that are like, you guys are having too much fun with this Mason Kinsey stuff. You need to cut it out.
Yeah.
He's not that good.
Sometimes his mom.
So we gotta eliminate that sect of haters out there before Mason Kinsey can be on the Mount Rushmore of Mason Kinseys.
We've talked about it on this Cover 2 shows that right now it'd be hard not to have Mason Kinsey make this team over Xavier Restrepo, and people do not like that.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of, Cover 2 is kind of a pro Mason. We're Mason Kinsey neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot to be in.
Kinsey curious.
Yeah, there we go. I'm just saying, I ain't ever heard anybody say a bad thing about Michael Preston.
Yeah.
So that's my larger point.
Yeah,
there.
I think he was the Trey McBride before Trey McBride.
Yeah. I can get with that. And then finally, I was just looking through Titans history because we did an exercise on Football and Other F Words of the biggest what ifs of the last 10 years.
That we'll be doing next.
And it just made me recall the hellacious run of offensive coordinators this team underwent. And so I came up with the Mount Rushmore of Chris Palmer's.
Yes.
Chris Palmer.
Yeah.
Jason Michael. Terry Robisky.
Yep.
And Todd Downing.
Yeah, I would have no disagreements there. I think those four, you nailed it. Dow Loggins. But remember, he was called Dow Logains for a while. So honorable mention for Dow Loggins.
Yeah, honorable mention. But I do feel like he showed some promise at some point.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean,
he's everywhere. I mean, like I think he's the South Carolina offensive coordinator right now. So I mean, like, he got jobs in the NFL and in college after this.
Yeah.
I mean, like, was an offensive coordinator, I think, in a couple different stops. So Todd Downing, meanwhile, is in the New York Jets.
Tight ends coach, right?
No, wide receiver coach, blatantly putting out there, I've never coached wide receivers before, but I think I got it.
Yeah, that's not a quote.
Yeah, I think I got it.
That's not
sure
a quote
you do, buddy.
I would want floating around out there. So I say all of this to say, hey, let's just dive right in. And I asked you before we went live, like, let's just invite callers to make up their own Mount Rushmore of Titans history and just call in and give it to us.
It's kind of like this is kind of that game where you're sitting around at the bar and everybody just names a random Titans player.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is.
Bleedy Ray Wilson.
Like Patu Atati, or that guy. Remember Ratati Patu Atati? Jake Ball. Dave Ball.
No, Jake Long.
Jake Long, yeah. Taylor Thompson.
Jeremiah Putasi.
Yeah, there you go. We got
Riggs.
Sebastian Tertola.
Marqueston Huff.
Man, what a terrible set of drafts.
Cameron Wembley.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Justin Fowler.
Yeah. You can keep on going.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you. You got those parameters for that Mount Rushmore. If you have your own funny Mount Rushmore about Titans history that you want to give, you could do that as well. 615-737-1045. We're also going to have the biggest what ifs of the last 10 seasons for the Tennessee Titans, because we know all the what ifs before. So we're going to go the last 10 seasons. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking. I lost 70 pounds and my friend lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months.
Wow, what are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed for only $49.99.
It is 1:59. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams in NFL news. Chargers running back Najee Harris suffered an eye injury over the 4th of July holiday from a fireworks mishap with his agent saying he'll be ready for the season, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The OKC Thunder continue to lock down their NBA championship roster as the team and forward Jalen Williams have agreed to a 5-year maximum rookie contract extension worth up to $287 million. Nashville SC looking to make it 16 unbeaten as they travel to Florida to take on Inter Miami this Saturday. Kickoff set for 6:45 p.m., and you can catch that game right here on The Zone. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I got Stoney Keeley filling in for Blaine across from me, and that was a quick first hour.
It really was. It goes by so quickly.
It does.
Every time I'm here.
We got some NFL breaking news.
We do.
We do. Ryan Poles has gotten an extension, the Chicago Bears general manager. For whatever reason, he's got one. We're talking about a guy that's gone 3-14, 7-10, and 5-12 each of the last 3 seasons. But hey, he's aligned now with Ben Johnson, so he's the old ball and chain, the anchor that will drag Ben Johnson down. Because I am just floored. Why give him an extension? Yeah, why an extension? You don't need to give him an extension right now. Like, if he came to me and said, hey, I want an extension, and he's probably already on a 4 or 5 year deal, I'm like, well, let's see what goes on this year. Because you've warranted nothing for it other than luck into being a terrible team and trading up and getting Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'm with you on the timing of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is to just like sync him up with Ben Johnson. So like, okay, this is our timeline. You guys are both on the same schedule now. We're going to give this a run, and if it doesn't work, we're going to clean house again. I don't know if that's the intention here or what, but certainly not.
Well, they're apparently giving him credit for hiring Ben Johnson, is what this Adam Schefter agent tweet
and
reads.
You know what? Ben Johnson has been so impressive this offseason so far.
Yes.
They were like, Ryan Poles, you're a miracle worker.
You're a miracle worker. I mean, give me a break. This is like when college coaches get extensions before anything.
Yeah,
I never understood it. It was like Josh Heupel got one 2 years. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve whatever. It's just he's the first example in my head. But when did he get his extension? After year 2?
Yeah, after he beat Alabama and went 10-2 for the first time since 2004. I think he earned that one, bud.
But he's earned his first contract, right? I mean, why are we going ahead and what I'm saying is that it's a indictment of college, because it's not just Josh Heupel. He's the only one I can just remember, but a lot of college coaches get extensions before they're even near their contract coming up. I just don't get it. But I mean, sure, I guess 15-36 because you drafted Caleb Williams, who still went 5-12. Good on you, bud.
Well, you just can't let Ryan Poles get away, I guess. You can't even entertain that thought. I will say this. I do think that he has assembled a pretty decent roster now. I think they were kind of negligent with the offensive line last year, which it's hard to really fault him for because it was decent enough the year before. Like, you felt like there was promise there, and things just kind of fell off the rails there. They've been hyper-focused on doing the best that they can to beef up the offensive line. You think about what a circus it was with Matt Eberflus in charge, and maybe they feel in the building that it really was a coaching problem. But now, thanks to Ryan Poles' genius of identifying Ben Johnson as a good head coach candidate, that master class in intelligence that nobody else saw coming, they're like, you've done it, buddy. You've earned this.
If you get a losing season out of this year, I mean, are you still calling it a rebuild? Because that's what they're dubbing it now, was the Chicago Bears rebuild.
And that's a tough division.
I don't know. Like, to me, I kind of look at it and I go, just let it play out. I mean, what if your
don't-
team sucks again this year?
You didn't have to do this right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been continuing on the same stuff they've already been doing. It's not like they had to tear it down the studs. I mean, they got Miles Boykin on the roster.
They do, but I mean,
Devin Duvernay on the roster.
To be fair, you're talking
Miles
about
Boykin.
you're talking about like wide receiver 8 though. Like he's not going to make
Yeah,
the
just
roster.
say it. He's just on there.
Because I'm looking at that DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden the third trifecta.
Luther Burden has not our Luther Burden wide receiver 1 so far in the offseason does not look like it's turned in the right direction.
It does not. But if we go back to draft season, man, that's a hopeful pick.
That is a hopeful pick. All right. Speaking of what ifs and all that kind of jazz, we have a more in-depth version of this over at Football and Other Efforts, wherever you get your Zone TV podcast. Of course, it's on YouTube right now. You can go watch it as well. Some of the biggest what ifs in Titans history over the last 10 seasons. The reason I wanted to cut it off at 10, because we have while it is an interesting story, and that's something that maybe we'll talk about later, but like we have Peyton Manning. We have the 1 yard short. What if the Music City Miracle didn't happen?
What if the Ravens didn't go after Chris Johnson's ankle?
Right. Like we have all that kind of stuff. But I do think there is a pivotal moment in history for this franchise with the Ken Wisenhunt to Mike Mularkey to Mike Vrabel, with the quarterbacks you have seen come through, that to me, keeping it in the last 10 years or 10 season makes a little bit more sense. And for most fans, this is because of recency bias with the most news that we have available to us, because there's so much that we have at our fingertips, so much we have heard, that it would kind of make sense. So let's start with the one that you had about the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, so and again, I don't know if we ever figured out if this was officially reported.
It was
anywhere.
On 104.5 The Zone on one of the shows. And I want to say it would be in Ramon and Will, the morning show, or the Buck show. I don't know.
I can't recall off the top because
I don't think it was 3HL, and I don't think it was Mickey and Blaine at the time. But Wesley Woodyard was on and confirmed this story
that Mike Vrabel had taken over the play calling responsibilities for the defense in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And my question was, what if that didn't happen? Because we rewatched the game and go back through it, and it felt like at the time this like 20-something yard run by Patrick Mahomes felt like just a backbreaker for a defense that was at the time just like hanging on by the skin of its teeth, just trying to get to halftime to get a reprieve from that game. It felt like that was a back-breaking kind of moment, and then they go into the half, they come out, the rest is history. They end up losing that game that they looked like they were going to be feisty and maybe even steal one. So it got me thinking, like, how much changes if you're a player on the field if there is a shift in the play caller. And I asked the question to you, is it possible that it could have kind of jolted the players, gotten them out of rhythm a little bit, and never really gave them a chance to get settled back in? Like, ultimately, if Dean Pease keeps calling the defense in that game, do they settle down? Do they get their feet beneath them with a chance to catch their breath a little bit at halftime? Is the outcome of the game any different?
Well, how much does Dean Pease check out as well? Because if Mike Vrabel's splitting his time trying to be a head coach and defensive coordinator, well, we kind of saw how that went the following year when Dean Pease retired and there was no defensive coordinator and the defense was a disaster.
Yeah.
So we've kind of seen how this plays out over a whole season. So it makes sense that the worst defensive coordinator, when he was hired as head coach, Mike Vrabel, he was the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL before he got hired as head coach, would have a terrible defense when he's put fully in charge of it.
Yeah. And it just, man, to go back to that play, it didn't feel like the issues were with the play calling on the defense.
The players were there in position to make the stop.
And like Dean Pease can't do anything about guys missing tackles.
And it's something that Patrick Mahomes has done over and over to and nobody else gets play calls taken away from him. So especially in a championship game.
Yeah, that little nugget about the play calling duties changing in that game, it does kind of change my perception of how that game went down a little bit, at least.
Yeah. For me, I agree because I think that is a jarring thing to do mid-game.
Mid-game, yeah.
And I think that for a guy like Dean Pease, who has been so well respected, has been many championship games, has been in, all kinds of championship moments, big moments where his defense has stepped up to do something, whether it's secure a win, to get a sack, whatever. For that to go down, that, especially at the time where there was a lot of veteran players, because obviously Wesley Woodyard, veteran player, a lot of players that were veterans, that has to be, you have to be able to overcome that, but that has to be pretty jarring to see go down. And you're kind of like, either if you saw it go down, which I don't want to say that they did, I don't remember the exact details, but if they saw it go down, that's probably even worse. But it may just be just as bad is if you go out into the field and you're like, well, why is this, where is Dean Pease's voice coming from?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't he here? Why aren't we getting our information from over there? To me, it's like that was kind of also the what if. I do think the Tennessee Titans could possibly win that game if
I do too.
Dean Pease sticks around and you have a little bit of stability. But also, I think that's also the biggest sign. Like, what if Mike Vrabel had let a little bit of power go? Because now he got the reins a little tighter. And as we talked about this last night, but Taylor H. is also talking about it in the F&M Bank chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. He says it felt like Vrabel's response to any stressors in game was to take tighter grip on the controls. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say Mike Vrabel's not a good head coach and anything like that, but that was something that he started doing. And I wonder if in that moment he had not done that, would maybe we have seen a different Tennessee Titans team later on down the road as far as how he handled in-game situations, micromanaging, the player acquisition cycle, all that stuff. I do wonder if all that stuff would have changed.
It's fair. And this might surprise some people, but I've never played in the NFL, so I can't speak on this from experience. But think about the message that it sends to make that change mid-game in the conference championship. I mean, at the very least, I can understand how if I'm a player and our head coach has just said he's not cutting it, we got to do something, it's like panic. I would feel like, oh, there's a sense of urgency here that hey, we've got to do something. And I think a better response in that situation might have been, don't let the overlooming shadow of Patrick Mahomes scare you. Settle down, we'll play our game, and we'll dig ourselves out of this. We'll get back into this thing.
It was an interesting moment that none of us, it may have been reported here and there throughout the time, but until we heard Wesley Woodyard say it, it just didn't really sink in how big of a moment that was, because you're right. That's not in the middle of a game, that's not a game defining play where you need to make sweeping changes like that. It's just a mistake. And really what we have come to find out is Patrick Mahomes can do that to a bunch of different, he could do it to Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. He could do it to a bunch of different linebackers. Sure. He just happened to do it to Rashaan Evans, and then that somehow gets put on the blame. And as we have seen from Rashaan Evans' career, not a lot to, put out there that would, say that it was someone else's fault other than Rashaan Evans. But he put the blame on Dean Pease, a storied and well-respected coach. We saw how that story ended here.
Yeah, it just in hindsight, and obviously the benefit of hindsight is 2020, but it felt like a panic move to say, oh my gosh, they made a play. We can't let them start making plays like this.
It felt like a team of destiny that had its destiny ripped out from underneath them by their own choices.
Oh man, yeah, that's poetic. The way you put
it in your poetry book.
It'll be in my next book.
There you go. When we come back, we'll hit up 4 more what ifs. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Man, look like I've been putting in a lot of work. Well, lifting 5 days a week is not really something I want to do. Dialing up my nutrition, yeah, maybe. All righty, well, so there's a little extra around the middle. And I don't have time to go to the gym every freaking day, but I'm still trying to do something, but nothing extreme. That's why I checked out M-Sculpt Neo at Edge Peptide Therapy. It tones muscle and melts fat, no needles, no downtime. M-Sculpt Neo is the most advanced body sculpting technology available, merging fat reduction with muscle building in one effortless session. No surgery, no downtime, just the results that speak for themselves. M-Sculpt Neo is your secret weapon, building muscle, burning fat faster than traditional workouts alone. It's like doing at least 500,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. Yeah, man, I think Mr. Truth, R-Truth, could do that too as well, but he's burning a lot of sweat. But you can burn a lot of sweat with M-Sculpt Neo, Edge Peptide Therapy. And all you got to do is just give them a call. 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. I have Stoney Keeley in the chair across from me while Blaine Bishop is out on vacation. We have been talking about, over the last 10 seasons, the biggest what-ifs in Titans history, at least in our opinion, the biggest what-ifs. And here's a big one. Let's try to go to chronological order, I guess.
Okay.
2015, there were rumors abound right leading into the draft that the Tennessee Titans, that, hey, the Chargers want to trade Phillip Rivers to Ken Wisenhunt. Ken Wisenhunt wants to reunite with a quarterback that they had a perfect marriage with the Chargers.
Good
and they
years.
wanted to trade up because they wanted to draft Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that's so interesting because we don't really know what would have been involved. But possibly you probably get their first-round pick, Phillip Rivers, for the number 2 overall pick.
Presumably.
I was all for this idea.
Yeah.
I was all for Phillip Rivers. He's a proven commodity. Sometimes the scariest thing you can do is invest in something you're just not sure about. And I was not sure about Marcus.
Yeah.
Now, I was proven right, but in the wrong kind of way that you want to be proven right, in the sense of injuries derailed. And that's not what I wasn't really sold on. I was just like, man, if you can have Phillip Rivers or you can have Marcus, I'd rather have Phillip Rivers.
And people tend to think or tend to forget how good Rivers was late into his career. He retired after one season with the Colts in 2020, but he played with the Chargers up until then. 6 more years at that point in time, and dude was still throwing over 4,000 yards and being one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Probably not as prolific as they were when it was, LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates and that crew. But Rivers still had some good ball in him. I think would have been worth the capital to go get him.
This is one of the worst I'm looking at the 2015 draft. This is one of the worst first rounds ever. Now, you got the highest of highs with like Brendan Scherf, Amari Cooper, Leonard Williams, and Todd Gurley. But then you got guys like, obviously Jamison Marcus, who have become backups, but and Dante Fowler has become a role player. Kevin White, Vic Beasley, Eric Flowers, Trey Waynes, Andres Pete, Devontae Parker, Melvin Gordon is a good one, but then you got Kevin Johnson, who is all right. Yeah. Eric Armstead, really good. Marcus Peters, for a short time, really good. But then you got Cam Irving, Nelson Aguilar, Cedric Ogbuye, Bud Dupree, all right. Shane Ray, DJ Humphreys, Shaq Thompson, Brashad Perryman, Byron Jones, Laken Tomlinson, Philip Dorsett, Demarius Randall, Stephon Anthony, and Malcolm Brown to kind of like round it out. Woo!
Yeah, so
that's a pretty bad first round. I mean, I'm not saying it's the worst of all time, but man, that one's a lot worse than what I thought it was.
Yeah, that's one where, if you can get out, again, benefit of hindsight, but if you can get out of that first round,
yeah,
no problem with that.
Pick up some extra picks with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, pick up some extra picks.
Maybe you don't draft Dorial Green Beckham. I mean, I look at it this way. I do think that Marcus could not run what Ken Wisenhunt wanted to run. Phillip Rivers could.
Proven.
And we have seen it done. Now, this was not a good collection of 2015 players on this Titans roster, but when you have a leader like Phillip Rivers and a proven player, he can elevate that to a certain extent.
Yeah, sure.
Not saying it would have been a massive season, but I think that it would have been a season enough to keep Ken Wisenhunt around. For better or for worse, I know people do not like Ken Wisenhunt in media, and I know there are fans who do not like Ken Wisenhunt. I was a Ken Wisenhunt guy. Now, I was okay with his firing. I'm not going to sit here and say that Ken Wisenhunt did not deserve to be fired. But I do think that if you would have had Phillip Rivers, I think there would have been a Carson Palmer, Arizona Cardinals type of situation, because I just don't think that what he was able to do with Marcus and all that kind of stuff, it just didn't work. And he was obviously too stubborn to change to fit Marcus. So I do think that if he didn't have to change and he had a better quarterback, we would have seen a different Tennessee Titans.
So let's think about how the dominoes fall from here. Do you think that if they win enough with Ken Wisenhunt, obviously, let's assume for the sake of this argument that they recapture that magic that they had with the Chargers when he was offensive coordinator there. Do they win enough games that it impacts Rustin Webster's job as well? Do they keep
Probably
him?
Does.
Do we never get John Robinson?
You may not get John Robinson. And then let's be honest. I don't know how the draft would have turned out, because we're talking about after you get Phillip Rivers, let's say the rest of the draft goes the same way. Dorial Green-Beckham, Jeremiah Putasi, Angelo Blackson, Jalston Fowler, David Cobb, DeAndres Mount, Andy Gallick, and Trey McBride, who we were talking about earlier. That's probably not going to improve your win total completely or anything, but I do think I'm trying to see. You got a 2-point loss, 1-point loss, 3-point loss, 3 wins right there that maybe flip because you have Phillip Rivers. You may be able to flip a game against Jacksonville to get you to 4. A lot of these games were blowouts.
Yeah, those were bad teams.
So you may be looking at a 7-win team, which still gets you to keep here, but is it enough to keep with Rustin Webster? Because maybe Ken Wisenhunt probably is like, yeah, I'm done with Rustin. Look at this draft. None of these guys did anything for us this year.
Well, you can see the argument of, hey, we've got our quarterback. My system's working. Like, we got to get some better players in here. You're not cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe, Ken Wisenhunt has a leg to stand on in that argument, and maybe they listen to him and they do fire him, and we still get
because he's like,
J-Rob.
I took a 2 of 14 team. We got my guy, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And we went 7-9.
So you think, like, if they keep Ken Wisenhunt and Phillip Rivers and then they still end up with John Robinson, and John Robinson does that building he does between 2016 and 2019, that to me is where this thing gets really spicy, because those were some good rosters that I think were held back a little bit by quarterback play.
Yep.
So you add Rivers to it and you think, man, this is a team that, dare I say, championship contender with those J-Rob.
You would be kind of like the Chargers of the South.
Yeah.
You may never get to the championship team, but at least you're contending. But eventually, I do think with Phillip Rivers, maybe the wheels fall off. But that's way down the road. We're talking 2019, 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're playing into a new coach, new GM, or a new quarterback in one of those better quarterback draft classes.
I mean, I'm just saying, he retires in 2020. You go into that 2021 draft class, you get your Mac Jones, and you restart the process.
You do it. There you go. You made everybody so happy with that.
I did. I love that.
What if the Tennessee Titans never traded for Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, this is a good one, too.
I don't know how far I don't know if Mike Vrabel gets to go and select a quarterback.
Yeah.
In that next draft, if the Tennessee Titans, we went through it last night. We said there's maybe 2 more wins on that roster that maybe Marcus in a form of like Tyrod Taylor or whoever may have been the other quarterback they signed.
Sam Bradford.
Yeah, maybe. But like they're probably not making it very far. And that'd be year 2 of Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
And we have seen that there has been a little bit of an itchy trigger finger with Amy that she developed over time. I do wonder if maybe not trading for Ryan Tannehill and they go 4-win season with a quarterback draft that looks pretty good coming up. I don't know if they let a defensive head coach pick the next quarterback.
Well, I'm kind of with you on this one, because we talked about this a little bit last night with the Brian Callahan retention. Again, just pure reckless speculation, but at the very least, like the beneficiary of the latest in a series of quick trigger finger moves with Rand Carthon, John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, all these people that have been canned. That hadn't happened yet. So at the time, there's no series of firings to cause pause and think, well, maybe we should keep some stability in place. So I think it probably makes it
because
more
you got to
likely.
Remember, Art Smith gets a head coaching job because of Ryan Tannehill, and now Art Smith does not look like the genius that he eventually looks like.
Yes.
So now you got Mike Vrabel, who promoted in house, and then you got Matt LaFleur going off in Green Bay.
I think he would have been canned. And this motion that they made to go modernize the offense, which was part of the reason that Brian Callahan was hired, probably happens 4 years earlier than it did. And then if they bottom out badly enough, they get to take part in that 2020 quarterback class. Maybe they're bad enough for Joe Burrow, and that is just twist the knife.
Tua, Herbert, probably
punch.
Herbert is where I think they would land.
I think Herbert is where they ultimately land.
That changes everything.
I'm stoked about that.
Yeah.
That does change everything. Even Tua, I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Maybe even Jordan Love. I mean, compared to like what this team went through the past few years, you think about none of that happening and them just riding out there with one of those quarterbacks from that 2020 class. It's really
Changes
interesting to
things.
think about.
What do you have, Jackson?
I was wrong. I thought this was the 2018 season, not the 2019 season. And I just wanted to say Kyler Murray, Mike Vrabel being asked about Kyler Murray's video game has-beens would have been cinema.
Oh, it would have been.
That would have been great.
It goes to, what'd you say? You said something. But there's a part 2 to this. What if they never traded for Tannehill? And this was brought up by Joseph last night on Football Night. We had all 3 producers. We had Ross, Joseph, and Jackson in the house. But he says, okay, you didn't have Ryan Tannehill. He didn't have a great 2019 season. Is Mike Vrabel able to convince Tom Brady to come to your team that looked so pitiful and not go to Tampa Bay? Because I know there were easy connections and rumors that the Tennessee Titans were in at Tom Brady at the time, even before they signed Tannehill to an extension. Those rumors have since been debunked by numerous sources.
Yeah.
So the Tennessee Titans were gung-ho about Ryan Tannehill. So if they hadn't had Ryan Tannehill, do they end up going for Tom Brady and trying to make a pitch? I don't think Tom Brady comes here. I still think he goes to Tampa Bay because there's nothing here, right? We wouldn't have had
it would have taken
an
some
A.J.
convincing.
Brown season that made him look like what should have been Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I agree.
We may not have ever had a Derrick Henry going crazy kind of year because Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry had a symbiotic relationship that year in 2019. His yards per carry, the offensive line looked better. There may not have been anything here for Tom Brady to latch onto to say, hey, this is where I need to come, whereas Tampa Bay had all that.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, if you're looking at the 2 situations just on paper, objectively, I mean, look at the weapons that Tampa Bay had. Look at the head coach they had. Look at the offensive system that they ran. Like, that is something Tom Brady, as would eventually prove true, you look like, plug me in and we're winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did down there. I think it would have taken a lot more convincing. I mean, I don't know. I love Nashville, but I've been to Tampa Bay several times. It's just a cool city. I like being out there by Treasure Island on the beach, just posting up, drinking margaritas, watching the sunset. You can't do that in Nashville.
Yeah.
So you gotta really leverage the pitch here if you're going to get Brady there.
I just don't know if they could. I know that they have like a kind of give and take, back and forth relationship. I don't know if Brady wants to be, quote unquote, working under Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is like they were technically colleagues for quite some time. So what is that dynamic like now where
Do you just let Tom Brady be Tom Brady and Mike Vrabel step back? Because we have never seen Mike Vrabel just step back.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine.
It's hard to imagine. Especially with his job being on the line at that point too.
Yeah.
What if, this is going to hurt a lot of people.
Is it?
What if the Tennessee Titans had kept A.J. Brown? Because we are divisive on this.
We're not on the same page here.
We're not on the same page.
Yeah.
I think if the Titans have kept A.J. Brown, Mike Vrabel would still be here. John Robinson would still be here. They would be a team that would be in the midst of a rebuilding behind the scenes, but it would be an easier transition with A.J. Brown.
They would be in purgatory.
Maybe in purgatory. I mean, it depends on, because I do think that John Robinson, before he got fired, I understand why he got fired. But before he got fired, I really thought John Robinson deserved a shot to pull himself out of it. And I think that A.J. Brown, I know, it is bad. Trust me, you're not going to sit here and defend John Robinson, but I did think that they were going to give him another shot. So I did think he had earned it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that A.J. Brown provides relief for the tackle woes that they have suffered through all of this, because I do think an elite wide receiver can eliminate a pass rusher in the box. I think he also gives you a quick out in all this kind of stuff. I just think that A.J. Brown, to me, in my opinion, A.J. Brown at least maybe buys you another year, because in that 2022 season, that 7-5 would have probably been 7-3 before John Robinson, at that point where John Robinson got fired. I guess it'd be 9-3. Because I do think that while those wins were fluky, as far as they were like 2-point, 3-point wins, they were a mirage of what that team actually was in 2022. If you had A.J. Brown, those would be more decisive wins. So I think we're talking about a team that's at least going to be a 9-win team and get into the playoffs again.
Well, I think the angle I took with that that aspect of the conversation is that if they don't trade A.J. Brown to the Eagles, are you talking about Bubba's take?
Yes.
Bubba's got a good take in the chat, yeah. If they don't trade A.J. Brown to the Eagles, then that Eagles game does not happen later in that season. And, if that's the case, then maybe John Robinson isn't fired and he does get a chance to dig himself out. And that's where, to Jackson's point, I feel like we're in purgatory because the crux of my argument is that I think the draft classes from 2020, 21, and 22 were so bad for John Robinson that eventually the state of the roster is going to degrade. I mean, it is going to deteriorate regardless of whether A.J. Brown is there or not. Ryan Tannehill fell off a cliff to start the 2023 season. I mean, his decline was pretty rapid. And I don't think A.J. Brown's presence necessarily stops that from happening. And so I think it's kind of inevitable we still end up at the same spot, maybe just a year later or so than they actually did. And that's why I think ultimately, I just don't think it changes too much if they keep him.
And how long is A.J. happy with the state the Titans roster would be in?
Well, maybe. I kind of look at it and I go, we've seen good drafts from John Robinson, and we've seen some terrible ones. And the terrible ones really outweigh, obviously, the good ones. But I do think that maybe there is a reset for John Robinson. And listen, let's say John Robinson's even gone. Mm-hmm. Well, then Mike Vrabel probably gets his guy, right? Yeah. Let's say they still fire John Robinson after the season. Hard pill to swallow to fire a guy that likely still had a team that went to the playoffs and had double-digit wins, because it probably would have been. But we've seen them do it with Mike Mularkey, even though it wasn't double-digit wins. But let's say that you fire John Robinson. Then you probably get Ryan Cowden or whoever Mike Vrabel wanted to begin with instead of Rand Carthon. But you have A.J. Brown. I do feel as A.J. Brown is a top-tier wide receiver in this league that people have to game plan. Once he was gone, you don't have anybody you had a game plan for Derrick Henry. So he helps Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown helps Ryan Tannehill. He helps the offensive line. Maybe you get a few different pieces. Maybe Ryan Tannehill's not getting hit as much, and maybe he's still around.
Yeah, that's a potential.
That's just kind of what I want to throw out there. What you got?
I just think, I don't think you fire him after the 22 season if you don't trade AJ. I think you fire him after the 23 season when the roster attrition
I don't know
up.
if the roster attrition really shows up, because I think A.J. Brown covers it up. And
this is an interesting conversation we had last night, too, is that if John Robinson gets the chance to dig himself out of that hole, proven, I just talked about 2016 through 2019, built some pretty good teams. So if he gets his bearings, because a lot of the discussion around his deterioration as a GM was COVID got to him. The COVID years weren't kind to him, and eventually that caught up with him. Well, what if he does get the chance to rebuild, and he does get his feet beneath him, and he does go back to 2019 John Robinson?
Masterclass.
Does it kind of turn the franchise, get the franchise back on track, and avoid the rebuild altogether?
You probably don't feel the need to draft Will Levis.
Yeah. I think you still might.
You may, but you may not feel the need to trade up for him.
I think Ryan Tannehill aging is
that's a big part,
and his decline.
But we didn't really see that until the start of that, sort of in the New Orleans Saints game, which was that 2023 season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that season opener was.
So we may not see that, but you may have a guy because Baltimore, right? You may get Zay Flowers. You may have Zay Flowers because let's say you make the playoffs. You may be drafting down the below. You may get Zay Flowers. You may get Jordan Addison. You may get Dalton Kincaid. You may get guys that also you build around opposite of A.J. Brown. Can you imagine A.J. Brown and Zay Flowers on a team? It's totally different for this team. And maybe not. Maybe you get Felix and Idike Uzuma. Yeah. And then you're just in the same position you have been, just, suffering through bad edge rushers.
They had to devote resources to the offensive line, and it had gotten so bad that it was impacting everything at an exponential level. And that's where I'm kind of what does it matter if you've got A.J. Brown there if the ball's not even getting off?
Real quick, Bubba and Dixon has something that ties into this, and I want to give them a shout out in the F&M Bank Chat, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. We'll just go quick around the room. If the Tennessee Titans against the Bengals you can take two choices. A, just not started Derrick Henry and did what they had gotten them there so far with Dante Foreman and all of them and gave them another week of rest in that playoff game against the Bengals. Or B, just kept playing Deontay Foreman, who marched them down the field on his back for a scoring drive. Then you put in Derrick Henry, you walk away with a field goal. If they win that game because of that decision, is A.J. Brown still here? We'll start with you.
Ooh. Jackson's thinking. I can see him ruminating over this one.
What do you think, Stoney? Why he's ruminating?
Rephrase the question for me,
Okay,
please.
so if you think that if they win that Bengals game,
yeah,
regardless, and let's say we know that there's the 3 picks and everything, but we also know that there's also pivotal moments in the game with putting in Derrick Henry over Deontay Foreman and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. If they walk away with a win because they made that decision differently, even though there was 3 interceptions, do we think A.J. Brown is still here?
I'm going
or
to say...
Or do contract negotiations get more contentious and worse?
I'm going to say that he still goes.
Okay.
Because I do think there's a part of this, and the chat, the F&M Bank chat has been on this a little bit too. I do think there's a part of A.J. Brown didn't seem like he was really... He was a little eager to get out of here, I feel like.
Well, he loved him some Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think he's still gone.
Still gone?
The stupid decision.
So we're just always going to be stuck in this multiverse where A.J. Brown's always gone.
What do you think about this? And again, just reckless speculation, but do you feel like John Robinson thought, I can't pay Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown both?
Well, if he thought that, then, please get fired. I mean, I'll always say that. Like, I mean, he is fired, but just show yourself out the door. Just quit.
Yeah,
because we've seen, look at the Eagles. We have seen that you can maneuver around. There was enough, and I will say this till my dying days, because I know there's someone in the chat that disagrees with me on this. I don't know if it's football and other F words or here in the Cover 2 chat, but you can pay everybody.
Yeah.
You just have to layer it all out smartly. And I think that, Vin Marino can do that. I just don't think John Robinson wanted to. I think he got into a little bit of a pissy match with A.J. Brown, and he got his feelings hurt that A.J. Brown didn't select the first offer he had. And then A.J. Brown shut down communication. Tennessee Titans shut down communication. That's just no way how to do negotiation. And I really soured on both parties in this. But, yeah, I just don't think. I think once A.J. shut down communication, then John Robinson needed to try his best to reopen it, and I don't think he ever did.
You got to watch out for those pissy matches.
You got to watch out for the pissy matches. All right, when we come back, we're going to close out our what-ifs, Titans what-ifs. You got some, put them in the F&M Bank chat. Also, feel free to call in over at 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking. I lost 70 pounds and my friend lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months.
Wow, what are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed for only $49.99.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We were talking about our Titans what-ifs of the last 10 seasons from 2015 2024. I got Stoney Keeley across from me, filling in for Blaine, who's on vacation all week. Just real quick, we found the Titans player of all Titans players, the most random player, a player I've never even heard of that has at least played started one game for the Tennessee Titans in 2006. And since you found him, Stoney, I don't know how you found this name. I'm going to let you tell everybody.
Colby Bachwalt.
Colby Bachwalt, a linebacker out of BYU that was drafted by the Saints in the 7th round of the 2004 NFL Draft, started one game for the Tennessee Titans in that 8-8 2006 season. That is a wild name that I've never heard of.
He played 4 years in the league, started 16 games for the Saints in 2005. Saints were awful that year, but,
Not Colby's fault.
Not Colby's fault, no.
All right, our final what if. What if when they were hiring Mike Vrabel, instead of hiring Mike Vrabel, there were three names: Mike Vrabel, Steve Wilks, and Matt LaFleur. What if they had hired Matt LaFleur as Tennessee Titans head coach in 2018?
Yeah, so it's fascinating because Matt LaFleur has gone on to do fantastic work with the Green Bay Packers, 67-33 as a head coach there. I think we get this modernization of the offense a lot sooner. I think this is a completely different football team, and I think it's probably a little bit better too. I think Matt LaFleur has proven himself as a play caller. I think we have a pretty exciting offense in Nashville.
It will be interesting because then you're still going to have the Marcus years.
Yeah.
That 2019 quarterback draft is not good. You don't know what the relationship between him and John Robinson would be because John Robinson handpicked Mike Vrabel. So if that means that Matt LaFleur is here, maybe it was because he was forced on a John Robinson. So maybe there's some tension there. I'm very split on this because I know Matt LaFleur is a very good head coach right now.
Yeah.
But I do know that those first few years at Green Bay, while he was learning how to be a head coach and learning how to be an in-game decision maker and all this kind of stuff, I do think Aaron Rodgers was able to hide a lot of his head coaching newness.
Well, yeah, and I brought up the Bucs-Packers NFC Championship game when Matt LaFleur's play calling directly impacted the outcome of that game. The Bucs would go on to win the Super Bowl that year.
Les says Derrick Henry would be out of the league in 5 years if Matt LaFleur was hired as head coach. Let us not forget Deion Lewis, running back one. Deion Lewis is a Mike Vrabel guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you probably have Derrick Henry a lot earlier. Now, maybe he is, I will say this, maybe he's not what he is right now today.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have a lot of tread on the tires. But if you go and look, when he got Josh Jacobs, it was Josh Jacobs' backfield. He's never had a Josh Jacobs back there. He's had Aaron Jones and a kind of a split. I don't think Deion Lewis is your running back, and I don't think Deion Lewis is your running back one. I think that he gets stuff done with Derrick Henry.
Agreed. LaFleur was kind of known as a platoon guy before that, but it was because he didn't have running backs the caliber of Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry. I think if you put Derrick Henry back there, LaFleur's a smart guy.
Henry would have had more tread on the tires, just like Bubba says. So I do agree with that because he would have started earlier.
He would have started earlier, yeah. So I'm with you on that.
And maybe he's not the Henry 2,000-yard rusher Henry. Maybe he's just 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards rusher Henry. But I do think the talent was always there. That Deion Lewis thing, because we'll close it up with this. That Deion Lewis thing felt a lot more like a Mike Vrabel thing than anything else to me, because I think Matt LaFleur, who's at the time EPA was there, success rate was there, would have realized that Derrick Henry, at least, if Deion Lewis was still on this roster, that Derrick Henry would have at least was the most efficient running back, even before the Eddie George talk. He was the most efficient running back on the roster. He had the higher yards per touch. He had everything going in his favor, but they were loyal to Deion Lewis, this weird veteran. And even if Deion Lewis is on here, I think it's Derrick Henry, first down, second down, Deion Lewis, third down. I think it would be an actual running back situation like that than it would have been anything else.
I think at the very least, he probably looks at those metrics and says, this guy deserves a bigger workload.
Yeah.
He deserves a bigger share of the carries, and that probably eventually leads to him starting full-time.
Yep. That will do it for us. Stoney, I greatly appreciate it. Tell everybody where they could buy your book of poems.
Happy to be here.
Oh, well, I'm closing out here. You interrupted me in my ear.
Got a couple of minutes, bud.
I'm going to give them time. I got time.
So, yeah, I wrote a book of poetry. It's called Seasons, Volume 2. It's the second book. You can find it on Amazon. Just search my name, Stoney Keeley. And you can find my work at Sobros Network, Nashville Movie Dispatch, and StackingTheInbox.com, where I have a piece on play action up on the Substack today.
There you go. I mean, like a man of many talents.
Thank you.
Substack.
Thank you.
You got Sobros Nashville Movie Dispatch, SobrosNetwork.com, Nashville Movie Dispatch on Substack. Those are two different things. You got the poetry book, Volume 2, by the way. So you got to get Volume 1 to understand Volume 2.
Yes.
You don't really have to, but I'm telling you have to, because you really got to have
people
both.
to buy 2 books. I appreciate that.
Yeah, buy 2 books. They're inexpensive. And buy them, the handwritten books. Or not, they're not handwritten, but like the print.
The paperback.
The paperback.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. All right. Stoney will be back with me next Friday. I'll be back Monday. Me and Jackson will be parentless for the week until Stoney comes back. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. 3HL's up next, and they're on location where? We don't know. All right, 3HL's up next. In the meantime.
And in between time, peace.